معكم في مؤتمر ADGM. اسمي ميريال دكيش من نيويورك ومعي هنا روhan, Dr. CEO تبع Louisa.ai. Rohan was a physicist from Oxford University. After that, he spent 20 years in investment banking, 17 of them at Goldman Sachs, 10 of them as managing director throughout London, Hong Kong, and New York.
Thank you. And I also actually, as a kid from the age of 2 to 10 in the 80s, spent 8 amazing years in Abu Dhabi and have fond memories of my childhood there, the beach, Hardee's hamburgers, etc. So, Abu Dhabi is really home for me.
Mm-hmm. That's lovely. So you went from investment banking to artificial intelligence?
I really fell into this space by accident. Serendipity, you could call it. Basically, 5-6 years ago, I ended up closing a really large transaction at Goldman Sachs. And management asked me 2 questions. They said, how do you do it? And how can you do it again? And the honest answer was, I met the right person at the right time. It was serendipity. I met someone at a water cooler in London, and 3-4 months later, we closed this really large cross-border transaction. And when they said, how can you do it again? I said, well, what if you could systematize serendipity with data? It's crazy that in today's day and age, people have to be thirsty at the same time, meet at a water cooler and swap information. Surely there's a better way. And so that was really the conceptualization of Louisa. I got some amazing advice from the CIO and the chief strategy officer. And they said, Ro, the best video games are built for gamers by gamers. And we've spent millions, even billions of dollars on technology, buy versus build. But imagine if we could create something for the business by a veteran of the business. 4 years later, we basically spun out of the firm. And now we are an independent company where Goldman Sachs is a customer. We have a $100 billion private equity and VC firm as a customer. And we've just signed a very large retail bank globally as well.
So, Ro, you had mentioned that you spent a lot of time in the financial industry. And could you share a little bit more about the problem that they're dealing with that kind of originated with why Louisa was built?
There's an age-old problem, which is finding the right expertise at the right time. And this leads to a lot of other issues, missed opportunities, disconnected colleagues, fractured client experiences. It's difficult to find the right expertise in the right time. Having the firm at your fingertips and being able to deliver the full might of your firm, which is nothing more than the collective intelligence of your colleagues, that is something that I think large organizations need to get ahead of, especially in an age where data and AI are now not just buzzwords, they are reality.
You'd mentioned the word artificial intelligence. Could you tell us your view on artificial intelligence towards the financial industry at large?
Yeah, look, there's obviously the world changed in November 2022 when ChatGPT was out. For banks, I think it's going to take a long time because the data, it doesn't matter whether you have NVIDIA super chips and you have the best LLM models on the planet. You need data. Data is the oil. That data is Fort Knoxed away because, there's privacy, legal, compliance, conflicts, material non-public information.
So now, I guess a follow-up question would be, what are your thoughts on a company establishing a ChatGPT internally for their content?
I think it'll take a very long time. It will get there, but this is not something that's going to happen in the next few years because the data is for privacy and regulatory reasons siloed away. And actually, all the information is in people's minds. And so you almost have to connect the minds of your people. We have a very different approach, which is ask any question. Who can help with the GDPR issue in Italy? Who can help settle a loan trade? Who can help give us a warm intro to Elon Musk's CFO? And the answer is always the same. It's a person's name. It's Bob, Susan, Vivek. So our view, you can ask Louisa any question and the answer will always be the same. It's Bob, Susan, Vivek, Sharia, etc. And then you ask that person and then they have the knowledge. So what you need to do is map the expertise and relationships of the people at your company And then once you create that map, you can do some amazing things.
Very interesting. A map for financial institutions. Could you elaborate on that a bit?
Uber was built on Google Maps. So without a Google map, you couldn't get from downtown to the Upper West Side, for example. And once you have a map of your people, like every person at your company's expertise and relationships. Now, forget about it if you're saying, hey, everyone has to input that. No one has time to do anything. It has to be automatic. But when you have an automatic map, you can do some phenomenal things. Louisa reads 1 million articles from 250 newspapers. It read in a Singapore newspaper that there was a $10 billion semiconductor plant being built. And it figured out that Susan at this very large company used to work at this company. She's in compliance. So she's not a client-facing person. So Louisa sends an email to Susan. It sends an email to Jack, who is the semiconductor financing expert in New York, who doesn't know Susan, doesn't know the company, but does this for a living. And Louisa basically introduces Susan's relationship, Jack's expertise, with the article about the $10 billion opportunity. And months later, they ended up closing a 60% loan to value, so $6 billion of financing. The customer was blown away because to make connections that no one thought were possible. So it's impossible for a human to know everyone at a company, let alone what and who everyone knows. It's also impossible to read all the newspapers in the world every single day. This is where AI can do both of those things and then connect people. So we are all about connecting human intelligence using artificial intelligence.
Wow. I never thought about it that way.
There's a lot of fear. We've all watched Terminator 2. And there's a lot of fear about AI versus humans and AI replacing people. And that's probably valid and it needs to be regulated in many fronts. But there is a huge opportunity, ironically, for human intelligence to be connected by artificial intelligence. If you think about LinkedIn, Facebook, it's connected people with, I remember I've got friends from Al Kabairat School in Abu Dhabi who I left when I was about 10 years old. I would never have reconnected with them. But years later, I met my Arabic teacher. I met my Arabic teacher's son, who was my friend, and we reconnected. So through technology, through data, there's an amazing capability for human connections to be made. Our mission is all about connecting people using AI, not replacing them.
What a great conversation. Thank you so much for your time. So Rohan, if there was someone in the audience that did want to reach out to you.
Probably the best way is our website, which is louisa.ai. And again, looking forward to being live in Abu Dhabi next year. Mm-hmm. Definitely a place that I'm visiting. I'm very happy to have my golden visa. And shukran.